story's title is Finmcoul, the Giant of Knockmanyhill by Tomie DePaola. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. In olden times, when Ireland's glens and woods were still filled with fairies and leprechauns, giants too lived on that fair Emerald Isle. One of the finest of those big folk was Finmcoul, who was wed to the lovely great lass, Una. They made their home on top of Knockmanyhill. Now, as any good giant, Finmcoul had his work to do, so he was often away from home. Lovely Una didn't seem to mind, for there was plenty to keep her own hands busy, spinning, knitting, and even giving a pretty touch to their great house. Life was very pleasant indeed. One morning, when Finmcoul was busy working with his skin, building a causeway to Scotland, the word came that Cuchulainn was coming. Cuchulainn was a giant too, and without a doubt the strongest in that part of the world. When he walked, the very earth trembled, and with one blow of his fist, he had flattened a thunderbolt, so it looked like a pancake. He was so proud of that feat that he kept the thunderbolt in his pocket to show all just how strong he was. Every giant in Ireland had been given a good beating by Cuchulainn. Every giant, that is, except Finmcoul, and Cuchulainn swore by the green that he would never rest day or night, winter or summer, until Finmcoul was added to his list. So far, Fin had been smart enough. He kept moving about whenever he heard that Cuchulainn was in the neighborhood. But this time, Cuchulainn was sure to get him. So Fin left the causeway and sped off for Knockmanyhill, his house and his darling Una. "Fin, my love," said Una, greeting him at the door. "What brings you home so early from your work?"
"The chance to get a sight of you, my sweet thing,"
said Fin. Since he was honest, as the summer day is long, he added,
"and to keep out of the way of Cuchulainn. He's after me."
Una soothed her husband. She brought him his slippers and lit a pipe for him. She stirred up the peat fire so it would be cozy. Then she set down a huge mug of stout and cut a gigantic slab of soda bread for her dearie. "Fin, husband of mine, enough is enough," said Una as gently as she could. "For years you've been hiking around from one place to another to avoid this Cuchulainn. Why would you even build our house high on this windiest of hills so you would be able to spy him coming? You will not get a moment's rest until you stand fast and face him."
I'll be getting plenty of rest if I stand fast and he knocks me down. I don't have the heart to face a man who can make a young earthquake just with his walk, and who carries around a flattened thunderbolt in his pocket just to prove his strength.
At that, Knockmanyhill gave a little dance.
"He's coming,"
said Fin, his face turning a fine shade of pale green. "Now hush," said Una, "and give me time to think. Do you worry that I won't do all I can to help you settle this matter once and for all?" Una then worked the charm the fairies had taught her. She took 9 woolen threads, each a different color, and braided them into 3 braids. She put one around her right arm, one circling her heart, and the third around her right ankle. Now nothing she did could fail. Next, she sent around all the neighbors to borrow 1 and 20 iron frying pans. She hid them in 1 and 20 loaves of bread that she baked on the fire in the usual way. She set them in the cupboard with some bread she had baked the day before. She then took a pot of milk and made it into a fresh wet cheese and put it along with some white stones at the foot of the cradle she had made up. "Now, my darling," she said, handling Fin some baby clothes, "put these on and do everything just as I'm about to tell you. And remember," she said at last, "Cuchulainn's strength lies in the brass finger he has on his right hand. Now quick, into the cradle, because I hear that man mountain at the door."
"All right, woman,"
bellowed the giant at the door.
"Where's that coward Finmcoul that I have been chasing after all this time?"
"Well, well," said Una with her sweetest smile. Now, isn't that a shame? Finn was off working on the causeway when some important family affair called him away. But he'll be home by tea time, so why don't you just come right in and sit down? Poor Finn trembled in the cradle.
"See this?"
Cucullin said, pulling what looked like a pancake out of his pocket.
"This was a thunderbolt until I caught it and flattened it. That is what I'm gonna do with Finmcoul too."
"Tss," said Una. "That may not be as easy as you think. Finmcoul's a big broth of a man. Why, take a look at our little baby and you might be getting an idea of the strength and breadth of Finn himself." Cucullin peeked in the cradle. "Chip," said the huge baby, looking back at him.
"My,"
said Cucullin.
"what a big boy!"
"While you were waiting, why not have a little bite to eat?" said Una. She put some loaves of bread on the table along with a can or two of butter and a pile of cabbages. Cucullin, who was as much a glutton as he was a bully, popped a loaf into his mouth and took a huge bite right down on one of the frying pans. Clang!
"Yo!"
shouted Cucullin.
"What kind of devil's bread is this? Here are my 2 teeth out!"
"That's Finn's bread, the only kind he eats," said Una. "Is it a bit too rough for you?"
"Too rough for me?"
shouted Cucullin.
"I should say not. Just give me another."
Cucullin chomped into another loaf and into another frying pan.
"I'll not have a tooth left in my mouth, woman. There's 2 more out."
Cucullin hollered even louder. The baby began to holler too.
"Hungry, hungry, hungry."
"Ah, sweet dumpling," said Una, and she handed baby Finn a loaf, and because there was no frying pan in it, Finn ate it right down.
"More,"
said the baby, and he gobbled up another loaf.
"He seems a strong lad," said Cucullin, getting a little worried.
If this was the baby, the father must indeed be as much stronger than Cucullin thought. "Ah, yes," said Una, beaming. "Why, instead of dollies, he loves to play with those white stones there in his cradle. Show the nice man, baby dear." Finn did as he was told. He picked up a stone that was really the cheese and squeezed all the water out of it and popped it in his mouth and ate it down. Cucullin was not to be outdone by a baby. He grabbed a stone and squeezed. He squeezed and squeezed. Squeeze as he might, he couldn't get one drop of water out of it. He popped it into his mouth, and with a chomp there went the rest of his teeth. The howl that came out of him almost broke all the windows. When he finally calmed down, Cucullin said to Una,
"What kind of teeth does that lad have? They must be made of iron. Let me see your choppers, baby."
At that, baby Finn opened his wide mouth, and Cucullin stuck in his brass finger, the very brass finger that was a secret of his strength. With a strong bite, Finmcoul bit the brass finger right off. Then up Finn leapt and began to pound the daylights out of poor weak Cucullin. That was that. Out of the door went Cucullin, never to bother anyone, let alone Finmcoul again. "Tea's ready, my love," said Una, and Finmcoul sat down with the best giant wife in the whole world, and they lived a long, happy life. The end.
Thanks for watching. For more exciting read aloud stories, please subscribe to our channel Little Hearts Super Kids. Also follow us on Instagram for amazing updates.